Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Sapochnik with the Enchanting Lawyer Podcast. This is a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals in the world who share their stories with us. And today I have an exciting guest from Norway. His name is Erlend Bakke. He's an author. He's an entrepreneur. He is a CEO of 3 companies, and he advocates the lifestyle of freedom, being able to work anywhere in the world. He owns Mr. Outsource. Currently, he manages 20 people between 2 countries. He spends his time between the US, Norway, and Europe. And his recent book is Never Work Again, where he advocates, right there, where he advocates how to break away from working and getting away the crap in your life, so we can focus on the most important things that allow us to be focused. Erlend, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I'm in New York at the moment. So what you can see here in the background is New York. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Like I said, you're in the US.
Yes. For another month or so.
So, Erlend, I gave a little intro about you, but why don't you tell us a bit about your story? I know that you had a little change in your life around 2010, which was about 4 years ago. And I think, a lot of my audience are business owners, attorneys, professionals that are living the life that maybe you lived before. And I'll be curious to hear about your story a bit.
Right. So we go back about 4 years. I was trying to fit more and more into my day. I was trying to be on all the time doing things and basically try to make the most money as quickly as possible. Which kind of what we're trained to do through media and also movies, Hollywood movies, I just got to a point where putting too much stress and pressure on myself just kind of broke me. And what happened was I was at a conference in London. And I just started feeling weird. And I hadn't really had this kind of feeling before. So I decided to go outside, just lie down on the grass. But it just kept on getting worse. And then, my heart started racing. And I was just, okay, I just need to move. I need to walk. So I walked and I decided to leave the conference. I went to on the London Underground during rush hour, which was a great idea. And
Right.
and it was basically I was having a panic attack. So you can think like an overcrowded tube train, lots of people, and it wasn't really anything I could do about it. So at one point I just had to grab the person next to me and say get me out of here. I think I'm having a heart attack. But it was a panic attack. It was like a massive panic attack, and I went to the hospital and all that. But I think. What that meant to me was that I realized, I'm not going to live forever. Why? First, why do I need all this money, and do I need it so fast? So it made me facing death made me reprioritize what's important in my life. And also one of the exercises in the book is called the funeral exercise, where the exercise is you get together like 3 or 4 friends.
Right.
And you write your own funeral speech. So from the first perspective, you write it from friends, and then colleagues, and then as a family member will then give your funeral speech. And that exercise is very powerful because it helps you think about what's really important in your life. So I realized I didn't really want to work all the time. Like I still love business, and I still love getting up in the morning and working on the various things that I'm engaged in. But you need other elements in your life as well. So one of the things that I started doing at that point was scaling other people's time instead of my own time. So as in school, we're trained to think like employees. So basically, taught to exchange our time for money. Right. So we're taught to get a job and then just exchange your time for money. So one of the examples I use in the book is lawyers and doctors. because from the outside world, they're seen as very prestigious professions, right? You immediately get status, which is an important part of being a human, is acquiring status. It's a very sort of primal need. And as a lawyer or an accountant, dentist is another one, you're kind of exchanging your time for money. And it has that way, how much money you can make has a limit. Because even if you're making $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, you can only make a certain amount of money a year because you only have a certain amount of hours.
Right.
Plus, you don't make money while you sleep, which is also one of the things that I focus on when I invest invest my time into things. Now I'm looking for how do they scale? So I always invest in scalable products. So, for instance, my book is a scalable product that works without me, right? So, 50 people download my book on Kindle. I make a little bit of money. And it also has a low cost in terms of scale, right? So, if I sell 1 million copies, it doesn't cost me any more money. Right. So one of the things that I have moved towards since 2010 is I don't sell my time for money anymore. What I do is I actually sell other people's time for money.
Right.
So I've got a range of people that work for me, and every day they get up and they exchange their time for money in a system that I've built, which they know how to operate, and the profit of that, I get the profit of that basically. So it's a way of thinking differently about how to make money.
Right. And so the example you just gave us refers to your outsourcing business. And so why don't you tell me a bit about what got you into starting to outsource some of the tasks that you needed to be done, and from there maybe explain the notion in the book where you explain that there are some things that are not necessary for us to do every day, and we need to get rid of those to become more efficient.
Yeah, so for me, how I got started outsourcing was very organic. It was, I basically started a photography company where we photographed products in 360 degrees, which involved a lot of image editing. And I started very, very little money. I had, $15,000, which I bought equipment for, and a photography equipment. And I was doing everything myself just because I didn't, really think there was another way. I got to a place where I had the clients, but I was doing all the work. So I was like, okay, I have to get somebody else to edit the images because I developed sort of RSI in both my hands from editing. And I started looking at the outsourcing market. So yeah, you can go to places like Elance or Odesk or Guru, Freelancer, even Fiverr. There's lots of different websites that do a micro arbitrage or outsourcing, whatever you want to call it. I call it leveraging other people's time, which is a very important skill set as an entrepreneur, because that's in fact what an entrepreneur should be doing is building a team of people that are talented and specialists in the area you're building a business, and then you should be making sure that they work that system and generate the kind of results that you want to see in the business you're investing in. But I basically just put an ad on a website in the Philippines, and I got like 30 replies. I sent them all an image editing test, so I tested their skill set, which is important. So hire slowly, fire quickly is something that I train my clients to do. And I got 30 people. I sent them all a test. So in the test, there was a bunch of images. There were video tutorials on how to do the editing and also how to send them back. So I got lots of different files back. I checked them. I made a mistake in the files so that they had to find the mistake or else they were immediately canceled. So I had 5 people work for me for about a month. They all did the same work. They got paid the same. And there was one guy that just kind of stood out and was better. He was like always early with the delivering stuff. He was very polite. And generally, like, we got along. So I decided to start sending him pictures to edit. And suddenly we just grew and grew and grew and became more and more people. And we're business partners in the business, in the image editing business. We are business partners.
Right.
So he owns a 25% stake in the business. I own 75%, and that's basically how I got started.
Right. And you chose Philippines for what reason?
So I chose the Philippines because culturally it's very similar to
Right.
Western countries, because the U.S. had a military base there for a long time, and a lot of the systems that are in the Philippines are based on the American model. People speak English, and culturally they're very polite, they're friendly, they like laughing, they love karaoke.
Right.
But so every time I go down there, we go out and we all sing karaoke with the staff, and I start singing. I think last time I actually sang a Frank Sinatra song, which I didn't know how to sing, but they thought it was funny. So it's all in the entertainment. But so that's why I chose the Philippines. I do outsource to other countries. We use programmers in Croatia. We have AdSense people, AdWords people in Australia, a copywriter in Canada. So, what is cool now is that there's a global talent pool of people
Right.
in the world that want work. And all you have to do is be creative enough to say, okay, how can I build a virtual team of people that can achieve whatever objective I want to have?
Right.
And there are people out there that are trained to think like employees. They're trained to think, the only way to make money is to exchange my time for money. They're not thinking about, how can I build a scalable product or a scalable business that works without me? Most people aren't thinking these kind of thoughts.
Right.
So that's a little bit about that, yeah.
And most people are not necessarily cut to be entrepreneurs, so they still need work, whether they're in the U.S. or any other country. So you are able to find those people and put them into a system of work.
Yes, pretty much.
Erlend, one of the things I liked about your book is you created this 4 levels of entrepreneurs, and you started with a onepreneur and the solopreneur, and the reason I like that is because I think any of us can find themselves within those descriptions, and the way you kind of show the flow is very interesting. So why don't you kind of explain to our listeners what these 4 levels are, and how do we move from one to the other, and what is the connection between them?
Okay, so I really like that you said that we all move in between them, right? So if I come up with a new business idea and I'm thinking about it and I'm sort of figuring it out, I'm a entrepreneur. Like, I want to do this business. So I'm one, right? So entrepreneur, but the way I describe it in the book is that there's so many people out there that are always talking about ideas and ideas and ideas. And ideas are great, but you do actually have to go out and do something about it. Right. So an entrepreneur is somebody that wants to start a business, but never really, puts any money into it, never really goes beyond the sort of dream. And oftentimes people don't believe that it's achievable. So they have, limiting beliefs about what can and can't be done. And I kind of feel like as an entrepreneur, we get all the same challenges. So the more I study entrepreneurship and the longer I've been in the game, the more I see parallels with other entrepreneurs as well. Right. And the further up I rise in the game, the more challenges I will be given, and I'll have to overcome those, and that's an everlasting game. But so let's say you move from entrepreneur to solopreneur. So that's a very natural step as well. And in sort of the speaking business, the podcast business that I also do, is I'm operating more like a solopreneur. It's based around me. It's kind of my name that's out there, and I'm very conscious of that, right? Right. But a solopreneur is somebody that's trading their time for money. So when I'm doing the podcast or I'm doing the speaking or the coaching, I'm trading my time for money, and there's a limit to how much money I can make. So it's important then that the hours that I put in, that I'm getting the kind of value back that I want to see. So oftentimes, so let's say if you are a lawyer, an accountant, or similar, what would happen if you maybe tripled your rates or doubled your rates, or because if you double your rates, you can work half the time, right? And so that's one way of doing it. And you might only be stuck with the clients that really, really want to work with you, and the people that aren't that sure, they'll probably leave. But that's an easy way to work less and earn more, basically.
Right.
So solopreneurs, and I think most people out there are solopreneurs that have businesses,
right.
And that's fine, and that's all good. But if you want to have more freedom in your life to explore other business ventures or just not work, then you need to move towards the sort of fourth level, which is becoming a business owner. So the third level is the business operator. The business operator is sort of the cog in the wheel. So they have staff, but anytime there's something wrong, they go to the business owner and they say, "Oh, I don't know how to fix this. Can you help me?" And if you're not in the office, they'll phone you. So what you need to do to move away from that is start empowering your employees. And there's a series of things that you can do to make that happen. One is creating operating procedures. So when you have a business, a business has repetitive tasks. So habits that it does on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So one thing that you need to start determining is like, what are the habits of your business? Because once you determine the habits, you can start creating a documented procedure that other people can watch or listen to or read, so that they know how to do it. So in our image editing company, I think the operating procedure is like 350 pages long. Now, the cool thing is, like, if you have staff, again, the important thing to do if you're in one of the three levels that we talked about now is to start asking yourself, how can I not do this? Right? How can I get somebody else to do this for me? Because the questions that we're asking ourselves is very important. So how can I make this happen? Or how can I get somebody else to do this? How can I not go to work and still make money? So these kind of questions are important in terms of the philosophy of never working again, basically. So you can have your employees make the working procedures.
Right.
Your employees. So I didn't make the working procedures for 360 Factory. They were made by staff.
Because they do it.
Yeah, because they do it. Right. So they made the procedures. So from a very early stage, you can set yourself up to have other people operate your system. And the reason why it's important with a systems manual is because people come and go, right? It's very popular now to kind of, go to a job, work there for a while, and then you leave and you go somewhere else. So instead of having to train that person up, in everything, you're going to have to do some one-on-one. But if you do have a manual, it instantly cuts out a lot of that work.
Right. And what was the last?
The last one is the business owner, right? Where basically you own a system, right? So any business has. Any business is going to need a team of four. So four departments, four people. You're going to need a CEO that's the visionary of the company, that knows the direction that the business should be taking, and can sort of lead the team and steer the team in that direction.
Right.
The next one is sales and marketing. You have to be out there selling and marketing, or else you're not going to be in business. So that's one department. Admin and operations. So that's one that entrepreneurs don't really like, and I don't think entrepreneurs should really be doing a lot of it, but it's the taxes and it's the contracts and it's all these things. And the third one is production, like whatever you're selling. So if you're a lawyer, you're selling your hours. Right. If you are in another business, it's whatever your product is. So understanding these four different departments, and that they're the same in every single business in the whole world, and then starting to view yourself as a business owner. So you can go in and you can look at the numbers of how a business is doing, and then you correct course based on, okay, why are the numbers worse this month than next month? Okay, what can we do to adjust that? And then having a meeting with the company, typically it would be with the CEO, and you'd say, we need to change this and move this, and then because you still have ownership as a business owner, right?
Absolutely.
But it just doesn't mean that you're dealing with like customer service and invoicing and all these little tasks that actually take up a lot of time in business.
Right. And when I was reading this, I kind of what struck me is that if we try to start a business, whether it's a law firm or an accounting practice or anything, we get in there and we try to do everything. And then even when we read books like The E-Myth, Michael Gerber's, he's the father of systems, and he was actually a guest on the show a few months ago, and he lives here in California.
Okay.
And I was talking to him about it, and he keeps emphasizing the importance of getting systems and small systems. And the thing is, again, a lot of the attorneys I talk to, it's just hard for them to do it because they think that they have to do it. And you touched a very important point. It's not for the owner to do it necessarily. It has to be done by the people who do it. And eventually when they leave, somebody else will do it, but because the system is already working. But the four elements that you mentioned, and we each have a different type of personality, but the rule of four of what you need to have in your business is critical, especially once you start getting staff. Because you can't have somebody who's not operational. You can't have somebody who doesn't do the marketing. And you should be there to inspire them in a way. I mean, I don't believe that the CEO completely has to detach himself from the business. You have to be there to set the rule and kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk does in his social media company. He's there, he does the fly, he does the thing, and then he flies somewhere else, and he has a team of 300 people working there, keep hustling for him because the culture of the business is there. And that's really true of freedom because you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Another thing you mentioned in the book is you define freedom in a very interesting way. I think you broke it down to 5 elements. Which, we all, I always try to figure myself, what is true freedom? Does it mean that if I don't come to work on a Friday, is that freedom? Or can I leave for, I leave every summer for 6 weeks, which is very uncommon for a lot of attorneys in the U.S. But, I've been doing this for the last 5 years as part of the system that I try to develop here by being the non-present attorney, but also present in a different way. So how do you define freedom in your book?
So so in the book, there are 5 levels of freedom, and I call it the hierarchy of freedom because I believe we kind of move. Well, in the book it's down,
right?
Because I drew it like the drawing is like an iceberg.
Yes.
So because there are some things that you can see and some things that you can't really see, that are internal in us. So the top level is like freedom of speech, for instance. So it's political freedom, be able to say whatever you want without getting prosecuted. Wear what you want, etc. And a lot of people think of so that's number 1. Number 2 is social freedom. So I believe I have a social freedom. I haven't actually looked at that in a while, but financial freedom is number 3. What was number 2 in my hierarchy?
I believe it was a social.
Okay, so it's yeah. So there's all these like society rules, right? So financial is the 3rd. Okay, so most people think of financial freedom as like that's freedom, right? Especially in the US, like, oh, if I only have enough money, everything's going to sort itself out and I will be free to do whatever I want and people will love and like me because I can buy that shit, right? But I haven't really found that to work for me because the more successful I've become, nothing's really changed in terms of that. The people that didn't like me, they probably like me even less because now I'm actually more successful than maybe they are, whatever that means. But that's what I've tended to experience. So financial freedom for me isn't like the answer to freedom because most people can be financially free. They just need to stop buying all the crap that they don't need. Right? Why do you need a nicer car? Like, how is that generally going to improve your life, right? And if you have 5 cars, if you can afford 5 cars, then you're going to have to pay 5 insurances, and 5 cars have to be taken to, the garage to get fixed, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this notion that more is better is one of the things that actually makes us feel imprisoned. So, for some reason, I have quite a few friends that are millionaires. And about 5 years ago, I was out water skiing with one of my friends in the Oslo fjord. And, I wasn't making any money at the time, not really any money. And but this is 2007. So it's longer ago, like 6, 7 years ago then. And I asked him, you have all this money, how does that feel? And you got your boat and your house and all that. And he looked at me and he said, my money owns me, right? So he's spending so much of his life like just managing his money and just like all his stuff. And he said, my things they own me, And I really later he kind of sold he sold a lot of his stuff and lived a much more simple life. Where he didn't have to deal with all his things. So that's that's kind of the big myth about freedom, is that we think money is going to solve everything and heal all our wounds, etc. So the fourth level, which is kind of the hidden one, is actually freedom of mind. So being able to see your own thoughts. That sounds a bit funny, but I believe, to free your mind, you have to spend more time in silence, listening to what's actually going on in your head. Because a lot of the stuff that's going on in our heads is actually programmed by, the kind of stuff that we watch on TV, the friends we hang out with, the clients that we're speaking to. They're sending us messages all the time. So I guess one of the questions is like, the thoughts that you have, are they your own thoughts or are they somebody else's thoughts? Like, what do you really, really, really want to do? Right. And to start freeing your mind, you need to spend time being silent, listening and seeing your own thoughts, which is, I believe, a lifelong practice. And the funny thing is, like, it's not like one day you'll be the master of it. It's not like a switch, like, oh, now I don't know how to do it, and now I do know how to do it. It's an everlasting process of sort of managing your thoughts. That's why in the entrepreneurial world, there's a lot more sort of talk about meditation and hypnosis and guided meditations and all these like elements of thinking better.
Spirituality.
Yeah. So that I think that's definitely the fourth level, freeing your mind, and then number 5 is sort of starting to appreciate that the world is kind of ever changing, everlasting, and in the end we're all affected by what we do. So appreciating other human beings and seeing that, oh, they're just a different version of myself, right? Different, we're so I call it like the Tao, which is basically ancient Eastern philosophy, but it means interconnectedness, and the flow of the universe is all interconnected, and so that what I do every single day actually has an effect on the world in general.
Right, and
which
in
is
a way,
interesting because
And in a way, by looking at it this way, we realize that the importance of collaboration in a way. Because if you appreciate people that are whether they are different skin color or different culture, working together. I mean, kind of like what you do right now. Your partners are not necessarily white Norwegians, but you still are able to create beautiful businesses because you understand something different about how you can appreciate people. So.
I typically use the golden rule in how I do business, and I generally try to treat others how I want to be treated. So that's my golden rule for outsourcing. I do try to apply that as much as possible. Do I fail sometimes? Yes, of course. Right. But I like to think most of the time I'm applying that rule. And if we break humans down, we're all pretty much similar. We want to be loved, we want to be liked, we want to be with people that are similar to us, and I think that's important in business. It's to understand the basic human principles, and then applying that in how you conduct yourself.
Right, and especially in this day and age where we have access to information so quickly. So if somebody is not treating people the way they should be treated, you can damage their reputation. You can find out about them by just Googling them or finding them on Facebook. Our world has become a small community where we have to be nice to each other. That's the premise right now, right? That's
Absolutely,
the advantage of this.
Absolutely, and I love
Right?
if I buy something from a company and they don't deliver, I usually go on their Facebook wall and I say, guys, this happened, and usually it takes about 30 minutes and then somebody's replied, and it gets taken care of.
Right.
So I like that, how that is. At the same time, I think if you put yourself out there and you're doing something, there's always going to be somebody that criticizes you in some shape or form, and I think it's important to appreciate feedback when it's justified.
Right.
When somebody gives you constructive feedback, it's like, cool, thank you.
Right.
But then there's also trolls.
Of course, there's always going to be haters, especially as you get more successful, and there's just so much access to saying what they think, just to kind of put you down, right?
Yeah.
Erlend, I wanted to ask you, being the person that you are, and being productive, and why don't you share with us some of the tools or techniques that you use to make your life more efficient and simple?
Okay. So one of the things that I use every single day is something I call the daily update. Mm-hmm. And the daily update is an email that I get from my key people every single day. I get 4 of them, 4 emails a day. And the way they work is that that person has to write down and answer 3 questions. So first of all, in the title, it says daily update. It says the date, and then it says number of hours worked. Just it's a way to when you measure something, it kind of gives you optics, and it also helps you keep them accountable to how much they actually worked. So question number 1 is what I did today, right? So it's a list of tasks that they did today. That's number 1. Number 2 is challenges I encountered. So I'm struggling to get this client to respond to this contract, but I believe I'll have it done by, say, tomorrow or this week.
Right.
And then number 3 is questions I have for you. And questions I have for you can be, what is the password for this thing? So in the beginning, the questions I have for you part will be bigger than it is now. Like if you started 6 months ago, they'll have a lot of questions for you. But when you continue to answer the questions that staff or key managers have for you, the list gets shorter and shorter, because then they learn how to do a certain task. And the more you train your people to do what you used to do, the less you have to do it. Right. So because I work across time zones, and to the Philippines it's now 12 hours, Norway it's 6 hours, it makes it possible for me to only do emails about 30 minutes a day and make sure that my businesses are still running effectively. So that's what I call the daily update. Another thing that I do is what I call 1 email a day. Mm-hmm. So I have a bunch of email addresses, and my virtual assistant in the Philippines is actually responding to a lot of those emails. So she checks my email, she replies to the questions that she knows the answer to, and the ones that she doesn't, she sends to me in 1 email at the end of her day. So all I have to do is look at that 1 email, reply to those questions to her. Mm-hmm. So I reply to her, and then she replies to the client.
Now, when she replies to the client, she replies as you, or she replies as the assistant from your email?
So she oftentimes replies from me.
As you, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Because it's the reply that I would give. Mm-hmm. So I've structured up my week in a certain way. So Mondays I do podcasts and interviews. I also do research.
Right.
Tuesdays I work with coaching clients. I do group coaching. Wednesdays I work on one company. Thursdays I also have free for coaching clients, and if there's a need. And then Friday I work in another company, or I just take Friday off.
Right.
So that's how I've structured my week, and I'm consistently looking for patterns in my behavior or patterns in our replies, and then I say, okay, this is a system now. So if it's a system of and a rule, then somebody else can actually reply for me.
Right.
So my assistant knows I'm available for interviews on Mondays, for instance. So then that's taken care of.
Right. No, I think this is a very, very good tip, because I think you can implement it in almost any business, whether you're a service or, just kind of have that. And those emails go to your key people, not to the whole team. Those key people that are in charge of all these tasks, they're the one who provide the feedback, and you can just do it in one day.
Yes, absolutely. So one more tip. So this is the third tip then. So we had the daily update, we had the one email a day, and then the third one is to know that in a business you have either project-based tasks or repetitive tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So what's easy to outsource is the repetitive tasks. So identifying what is habitual here? Every day there comes an order, it's processed like this, and it goes out to the customer, whatever that is. And so identifying that and then having somebody do that, For project-based tasks, it's a little bit more complicated, because that's typically we're launching a new website or we're launching a product. And for those kind of tasks, you need to be more hands-on with them, unless you have a really talented person that's in charge of that. So one of the ways that I've done projects before is that I find the right person, I explain what my vision is, what I want to achieve, and then I set a timeline for it. And oftentimes I say, this is what we want to do. Mm-hmm. How and when can you complete it by? And then they commit to a deadline, and then they have to finish it. And then I kind of leave them alone in that phase. Mm-hmm. Usually maybe I check in once a week to see how it's going. But empowering the people around you. So if you're stuck in your business and you're doing everything yourself, it's because you're not really trusting other people to be able to deliver whatever you do for you. So empowering other people to do the work is very, very important, and trusting that they will do their best. And will stuff go wrong? Yeah, sometimes things go wrong, but knowing that person is empowered to actually fix it if it goes wrong.
Right. No, this is very important, and I try to implement it also in my practice, where I say, this is in charge of this is in charge of dealing with the clients, and I just take off on my vacation in the summer, and there's no way I'm going to be calling them every day, because otherwise they feel, well, what's the point? He's not here and he's still harassing us. But when you come back, and it's amazing, because when you come back and you feel that things are actually better when you left. Because people feel that they can do, they feel proud to show you what they've done when you were not there, and if you give them that validation, they feel even more empowered. So you have more time to start saying, well, now I can do my, I can do my podcast, I can do other things, and the firm can run by itself.
Exactly.
And I think this is kind of a little switch that people, it's just hard to pass that line. But once you pass that line, it's to go back, it's just going to be stupid, right?
Yeah, so it's really, really, absolutely, and I think it's really difficult in the beginning to trust somebody else to deliver, because. But I think the fact is, we all have scars. We all have scars from dealing with other people, employees that have cheated or lied or not delivered, and welcome to the human race. It's that happens. But you can't judge every single person in the world on the same basis, because there are really talented people out there. They want to do really good work, and all you have to do is really train them and trust them, and then let them get on with it. And oftentimes, when I start micromanaging stuff, it doesn't go very well, because I might have forgotten how to do it, and the people doing it are much better than me.
Right.
So it's something that you have to do if you wanna free yourself more up, and
you gotta get that courage to do it. I think that's really the main step. So, you travel the world, between countries. Aside from your phone and computer, what is one gadget that you can't live without? I'm curious.
I think it's I have these Bose noise canceling headphones,
Uh-huh.
and I just love them. Like when you're on an airplane,
The Wi-Fi
uh,
ones or the connected ones?
the connected
Uh-huh.
ones, yeah,
The
connected
big
ones.
ones, right?
I just love them. Yeah, yeah. I use them
Right.
everywhere. I use them every single day. And especially here in New York where it's so noisy, sometimes I just put them on and I walk around with them on.
Right.
Just to
Just to be quiet.
just to cancel out, yeah, just to cancel out the noise. It's like, so this city has a roar to it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love those, and I use them everywhere, all the time.
Excellent, excellent. And I wanted to ask you, as you grew your business, why don't you share with the audience, first of all, if you believe in mentors, if you had any mentors, and also
Yeah.
one advice that you got from one of these mentors that you feel that you want to share with us.
So I've had mentors ever since I started in business. In the beginning, it was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need help. I'm not saying I still have an idea of what I'm doing. I have a better idea of what I'm doing, but I still need help. So I still have mentors. And typically I shift mentors about every year. I don't work with somebody more than a year. What usually happens is when I have a mentor is that we turn into friends, so I have lots of friends now that are old mentors, and it's really, really important. It's really, really important to have a mentor as an entrepreneur. Oftentimes it gets lonely at the top, so if you have lots of staff, it's good to have somebody that doesn't have a financial benefit from working with you, that just wants to work with you and in that kind of way, because then that what they're saying is kind of the real stuff. They don't have any political agenda. Most likely, they don't have a political agenda with helping you out. In terms of advice, I think there's been so many different things that they've said to me. I think one of the things was actually to do meditation was one. So in 2010, when I was so stressed out, one of my mentors gave me this said, download this app and do this app for 10 minutes every morning until forever, or until you just feel better. So that's one of my mentors actually taught me how to do meditation, which has been very, very important in terms of seeing my thoughts, as we spoke about earlier. Another mentor said, you have to keep yourself accountable. And, the way to do that is to keep a daily journal. So usually it's every evening, but I know if I'm very busy, I'm going out, doing a talk or something similar, I'll do it during the day. And I just have a set of things that I write down every single day that kind of keeps my mind focused and grateful and appreciative of what I have, and also what I want to see more in my life. So I think those are two things that have had a really good influence on my life in terms of living more free as an entrepreneur. But in terms of business skills, I can't think of one specific one.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I think that's it's an important takeaway where we all need somebody to check with. Even if you know everything, we need somebody kind of to say, you know what, I don't think it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. Searching for mentors, doesn't matter what field you are in, you need to find those people.
And I think a lot of the time it's just having somebody to listen.
Yeah. Kind of bounce off ideas where you feel that they have no agenda, which is the key.
Yeah.
Not a family member, not a friend who may have, they have some other things to going on out there. This person doesn't really know you that well, but they feel that this is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Now, Erlend, as we come to the end of our show, I would like you to share maybe one piece of advice that comes from you it can be somebody who is already in business or about to start a business, or they are thinking about what is the best thing to do right now. And I would be curious to hear from you kind of a few nuggets of advice.
Right. So I think number one is like get clear on what's important to you. And one of the things I encourage you to do is figure out what your number is. Because if you don't have a number, it's just like, oh, how much money do you want to make? It's like, oh, I want to make 10 million a year. And it's just like, okay, but why? Mm-hmm. So figuring out, maybe your number is like $10,000 a month, like could you, right. If you only worked a couple of hours a week and you made $10,000 a month, would that be able to make you happy? Would that be enough? And maybe it's like $5,000. So that's really important is getting real with what you really, really want. And if you think you want stuff, you can always go out and rent it. Mm-hmm. Like, I kind of wanted to, a Lamborghini. So I went out and I rented one. And I was just like, oh, it's fine. I didn't want one anymore after that. So a lot of our dreams that we think will solve a lot of things for us, you can actually have by just trying it out and then mm-hmm. seeing, oh, how did my life change? Right. So if you're going for the whole wealth aspect of things, you can go out one day and just pretend to be a millionaire and mm-hmm. see like how do people treat you differently, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and see if that kind of solves a lot of your problems. So if you're starting a business, I do suggest that you have to do it for the money, because money is a very intricate part of business, right? You can't really have a big effect on the world if you don't have money to sort of invest and in the things that you think are meaningful. So I think this aspect of getting clear and getting real with yourself, maybe doing the funeral exercise, like, how would it feel if you look back at the end of your life and you'd helped 10 million people with clean water, for instance. So maybe that's the kind of company that you should build. And so spending enough time to get clear is important. And the way to do that is to speak to people that know you well and say, what do you trust, and what what do you think I really should be doing with my life? Right. And then once you kind of figure that out, you can go and speak to people that are doing it, because there's always somebody out there doing it, right? So if you want to become an international speaker, then go and speak to an international speaker and say, like, how's your life? Do you love what you're doing? Right? So I think Tony Robbins says success leaves clues, right? So you can actually figure out what somebody else did, like decode it, and then do exactly the same, and you're likely to get the same results. Very good. So I think that's a couple of things to start off with. But,
excellent pieces of advice there. Erlend, if our audience would like to find you, what's the best place online to? And I'll put links in the show notes to all your resources online. Yeah.
So the best way to get more info is to go to youwillneverworkagain.com. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to outsource to the Philippines, we can go to mroutsource.com. You get a 30-minute free business consultation there. It's not with me, it's with my team. But getting starting in outsourcing, finding that special person that you can leverage and start giving tasks to. Those are the two main places to get more info.
And we'll put links in the show notes. Erlend, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a true pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Of course. This is Jacob Sapochnik, enchantinglawyer.com podcast. We hope you enjoyed our episode. If you have any questions, you can email me at jacob@enchantinglawyer.com. As always, we love to hear your comments, and we'll see you at our next episode. Thank you.